Welcome back to Inkkery! Following on from my top 10 new cards to Fabled, it was only right to cover a top 10 reprints, so today we're going to be talking about the 10 cards I think will have the biggest impact on the set 9 meta. But also today's list will be a bit more of a quicker run through, as I'm sure many of you already know all about these cards, but if you're new to the game please feel free to leave a comment and I'll do my best to explain the cards in some more detail. But without any further delay, let's get into this top 10. Starting off the list at number 10 is Fire the Cannons. Fire the Cannons is going to be everyone's favourite action in the upcoming meta. When going second against those super powerful Amber Steel decks, it's going to be so important to get those Auroras or Rhinos off the board instantly so they can't shift the Rhino or play a Tiana on turn 2. And it also answers tons of other threats instantly, like Banzais, Ladies, Pennies and Lilos. So really is incredibly useful and will certainly feature in lots of steel decks. At number 9 I have King Undisputed. Ruby has quite surprisingly lost Brawl, Dragonfire, Big Sisu and Be Prepared, so we'll heavily rely on this card going forward. And with so much new Ruby Singer synergy being added to set 9, this card's really going to shine, as Powerline can of course sing this song for free. Or it can be sang as early as turn 3 with this 2-cost Powerline. If paired with Emerald, the new legendary Max Goof could also allow you to sing this twice in one turn. So this card will certainly be a staple in most, if not all, Ruby decks. I also really like the idea of singing a Bee King early in a game with a Powerline for example, then being able to retrieve it from our discard later with a Maui Half Shark. Moving on now to my number 8, which is another Ruby card in Mulan Elite Archer. We all know how powerful aggro decks are looking to be in the upcoming meta, and I think Mulan could be one of the best answers for that. She has a couple of great shift targets, one of which being really fantastic in Disguised Soldier, so you should be able to shift her fairly consistently and deal 5 damage to 3 opposing characters if timed correctly. It might not be a must include in decks, but like I said, if aggro really is the most popular form of deck going forward, Mulan could end up being really important to counter that. Another thing is Mulan could be really great to try out in an Amber Ruby Princess and Queen deck, which I might try and give a go at some point this set, with the new cards like Aurora, Beast and the Queen synergizing with returning cards like Mulan, the Queen of Hearts and even the set 6 Raya. Now for number 7, and I've gone for Tinkerbell Giant Fairy, and for many of the same reasons as Mulan, but I think Tink could be considered slightly better as she's in steel so will likely be more widely used. She also shifts for 4 and has some okay shift targets with the returning Tiny Tactician and Fast Fire in Amethyst, but is also a much better card than Mulan when played without a shift, so has that going for her too. It really is close between Mulan and Tink, and I think we'll need to wait and see for which one comes out on top. Number 6 is a Pirate's Life. This card was incredible before rotation in those Maui Shark decks, but I'd say now is even better as now we have Ruby Singers in those decks too. I really expect to see this card a lot in the coming months as it slots really nicely into all Ruby decks, and Maui Shark remains one of the most, if not the most powerful cards in the game. Moving quickly on to my number 5, which is a card you may have expected to see higher. Hades Infernal Schemer is back. A card that has been hugely popular in Blurple decks in the past and will definitely remain a Blurple favourite going forward. The reason I don't have this card higher is Hades really goes into one deck currently, as blue-red decks definitely seem to have been hit hard by rotation, and it may be a little while before we see Hades make a return in blue-red decks. Don't get me wrong though, this deck can still be great, but I think with aggro seemingly being on top right now, it may be some time before we see blue-red make a comeback and Hades becomes a bit more versatile. Number 4 now, missing out on the top 3 reprints for Fabled, it's Elsa, Spirit of Winter. And yes, I have this card above Hades, mainly because I think it's better at tackling aggro decks. Also as I think Elsa will of course go into lots of Blurple decks, but we may also start seeing Elsa in Amethyst Steel decks, and maybe even Amethyst Emerald decks, shifting onto the 5th spirit in both of those. I'm really happy this Elsa's back, and I can't wait to see just how powerful this card can be in the upcoming format. Into the top 3 reprints now, and spoiler, all of my top 3 cards are songs. So number 3 is Sudden Chill. This card's arguably the most efficient discard tool in the game and has been made even stronger with the arrival of cards like Max Goof being able to pay an ink to retrieve it from our discard, but also with the legendary Max that, like I mentioned in the new cards video, could also allow us to sing Sudden Chill twice in a single turn. I'm really glad this card's back, to be honest, as I think it gives discard strategies hope of still being able to compete. And I really think Sudden Chill will feature in tons of decks like Emerald Steel, but also Emerald Ruby action decks featuring Robin Hood Sharpshooter and Lilo causing an uproar. Which leads us to number 2, which is another Emerald song, Under the Sea. With no more Be Prepared, Under the Sea is unfortunately probably the next best thing in terms of a board wipe. It clears all opposing characters with 2 or less strength, which could be helped out by cards like Sapphire Coil, and with lots of low strength aggro cards doing the rounds like Daisies, Nalas and Tianas, Under the Sea I'm sure will be seeing tons of play, and ramping to it or playing cards that can sing it together might end up being a really important strategy going forward. So finally we have my number 1 pick for the top reprint card in Fabled, and I'm sure it's no shock to you that it's Strength of a Raging Fire. Strength has become even better post-rotation, as without a clear board wipe threat, we can go really wide and Strength will end up dealing with huge threats, making it probably the best card in the game in terms of value. But it can also be sang with the likes of Powerline, Troubadour, Rhino and more, as early as turn 3, making it the best tool in terms of controlling an early game that we currently have. And turn 3 Pete, turn 4 Strength will also remain as one of the strongest things you can do in Lorcana, which likely removes whatever your opponent played after the Pete. I still don't know if I'm actually happy to see Strength back, as I now feel a bit cornered into deck building, as it's far and away the best removal in the game, with only Pull the Lever and Wrong Lever package coming close in my opinion. But as I've mentioned before, my main focus now is testing out Ruby Steel decks for the upcoming meta. So of course 4 copies of Strength will definitely be in my deck, and I'm sure will be in the vast majority of other competitive decks that contain Steel. So what cards have I missed? Be sure to leave a comment letting me know which reprints you're most excited for. There really is tons of great cards coming back to Fabled that I have no doubt will be a part of the meta. And some of my honourable mentions are Robin Hood, Mother Knows Best, Ursula, Pegasus, and World's Greatest Criminal Mind, and Sisu. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the Inkkery channel for daily Disney Lorcana content. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.